Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. And some pretty big news coming out of the British and Irish Lions camp. Another player going home injured in the form of Tomos Williams, with Scottish Scrumhalf Ben White being called up to the squad. Somebody who I was quite surprised was left out in the first place, especially given the really good partnership he has formed with Finn Russell for Scotland in the last couple of years. And I thought that would have been a partnership that Andy Farrell would have liked to have utilised in the Lions during especially the test series. However, he was not included initially, but does get the opportunity. I'm going to go through it in a little bit. But before we do that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So, big news coming out this morning is that Tomos Williams suffered a hamstring in Saturday's win against the Western Force in Perth, and therefore he has been replaced. Now, let's start with Tomos Williams. I think Tomos Williams was probably going to be the bench sort of scrum half come the test series. The big news, Jamison Gibson-Park is fit and is named in the Lions side to take on the Reds this week, which we will discuss in a follow-up video. We're sort of breaking down that team and looking at exactly how Andy Farrell is starting to sort of build a side. We're actually looking quite deeply into his British and Irish Lions sort of squad and kind of looking at the playing minutes, for example, what combinations he's potentially looking at as Andy Farrell, and kind of sort of starting to get a feel of how this test team is going to look like in about a month's time when they start to take on the Wallabies in, well, actually a little bit less than a month's time in the official test series. But still plenty of games to go until then. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Oz New Zealand sort of team that's been put together with a couple of players that have been announced. But yeah, so I think Tomos Williams is a player who, for me, is very close to Jamison Gibson-Park to have potentially even been a starter. I think he was one of the few Welsh players, obviously given the fact he's only one of two in the squad, that would make it into other potential international teams right now. I think Tomos Williams is a really, really top player. I think that he's quick with his delivery. I think he's got a phenomenal skill set. And I think that with a good opportunity, he would do really well in this British and Irish Lions side. I think he's one of those players who we don't get to see necessarily the best of him because he plays in a struggling Welsh side and behind a struggling Welsh pack. But I do think that in front or behind a really good pack and in a sort of game where he's got a little momentum, he can pick apart defenses, he can make the right decisions, and he can be a really, really vital cog in any team. But unfortunately, this is kind of how the cookie crumbles, sometimes. And he has left, and that gives a big opportunity for this man, Ben White, the 27-year-old Toulon scrum half, and a huge opportunity for him. I'll probably wager he'll play. He won't play this next. Obviously, he won't play this game because he's on the way there. But I reckon he'll play the week after or the game after, and they'll look to try and get him into the system quite quickly. Because especially when you're coming into the squad, you've now missed the Portugal training camp, you've missed the Irish training camp, and the training sort of a week ahead of Argentina. You missed the first week on tour itself. You've now got to catch up a lot with regards to what's going on in the systems. And, as a result, they'll probably look to try and integrate him as quickly as possible and maybe give him a bit of time on the field to sort of get to know exactly what's happening as well. Because Andy Farrell will want to make sure that going into the test series against the Wallabies, everyone's been given a reasonable chance to try and prove themselves. Everyone's given a chance to sort of show what they're about and to make a claim for that British and Irish Lions jersey. Now, Alex Mitchell's played so far. We had Tomos Williams who have played so far. Now Jamison Gibson-Park gets an opportunity. But with the injury to Tomos Williams, I think Ben White will sit there saying, I can give Alex Mitchell a go. I don't think there's too many people who are genuinely believe that Jamison Gibson-Park won't be the starting British and Irish Lions number 9 come the test series. He's such a top quality player. Arguably a form scrum half in the Six Nations, probably this form scrum half in the world this year. From an international point of view, as we sort of now get to see the Southern Hemisphere scrum half start to maybe put in their case, but he's been top. But if you look at Ben White, he's a player who took a little bit of time really to get his sort of international career going a little bit. He made his debut back in 2022, I think it was, in the Six Nations. Where he was involved more sort of as a bench player, really, and then it took a while to sort of get into that starting mix. But I think his big sort of breakthrough came pretty much 2023-24 in the World Cup. Didn't really get to play much, but did play a lot in the sort of Six Nations after that. And I think all of a sudden, after sort of Ali Price started phasing out, we've seen the Ben White rise. I think making that move to Toulon was a very good move for him. He's played a lot of really top games, been a big part of that Toulon squad. I mean, 13 matches this past season, 19 matches the season before. But the big thing, I think, for him is if we look at Scotland's Six Nations campaign, he played all 5 games and he started all of them this season. So, he is now the first choice, number 9. And that is the combination with Finn Russell that he's sort of established is becoming a key part of that Scottish side. And when Scotland are good, they're really good. And I think that a lot of what they're good at stems around the ability that Ben White has to make the right decisions. He's got a good skill set. I think he's quite an attacking nature scrum half. And I think that really suits, obviously, Finn Russell. Also pretty decent tactical, so you can kick off 9. And that'll be a big thing, going to British and Irish Lions, learning how they're sort of going to kick and what sort of kicking game Andy DeFarrell is going to deploy. But there's opportunity here for Ben White. A couple of good games, you can throw yourself into the test team. And this is what I probably love the most about British and Irish Lions tours, is that opportunity to basically come from not even being in the squad, to not even being in the fold, to all of a sudden getting that call up, getting into to the squad, and maybe training really well and getting that opportunity to be in the test side and become a test cap Lion. I mean, he would have been sitting there going into his off season at the moment. And it's an interesting situation because a lot of British and Irish Lions qualified players are currently in their off season, but they can't really sort of switch off. Obviously, a lot of them going into sort of the international camps, but not all of them are involved in international camps. Some players are actually being scheduled for rest, but they've got to keep themselves available in case they get that call up, which is why a lot of them, I think, have made themselves available to go into the internationals right now, whereas some of them previously we have seen players being given time off now in this sort of period to get them refreshed ahead of next season. So what do you think? Can Ben White get himself into the mix and potentially be one of the options to start or to be on the bench for Andy Farrell come the test series? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.